Preparedness, also known as Trent. As everybody, first of all, I need to say thank you all for coming. Thank you all for the support. And this is going to be the one of many to come. Each content creator that's been up here before today has amazing content. Please, 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 if you're new to YouTube, if you're on YouTube and you're not subscribed to any of these content creators, subscribe to their channel. It takes a click. Then check the bell and the notifications and do your thing. So what I'm going to talk about are essential items that you should have in a first aid kit. IFAC, well, in our case, it's a VFAC. Okay? There's many different types, sizes. You do what you need. Okay? I was talking with Devil Dog Prepper yesterday. He showed me his bag, and that thing looked like it weighs 30 pounds. But guess what? Everything that I'm going to talk about, he can do with that bag. He can perform surgery if necessary. First of all, let me say this. Please, 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 please take some type of medical training, okay? Take a Stop the Bleed course, take a CPR AED course, and get certified. We were going to try to have that done this year, but it didn't pan out, and I'm like, okay. But I have a group that next year they said we will come and teach a free class. So with that. How many of you do not have a first aid kit of some kind? Exactly. Everybody has a first aid kit. This is my personal kit right here. This stays in my truck. Stays in my truck. And I'm going to talk about some items that I keep. Personally, I keep 2 to 3 of everything because you never know what you may come across while you're driving. How many of you do not have a first aid kit in your car? 1, 2. Let me see your driver's license. Okay, thank you. Right. Keep one for your car. Leave it in your car. Because if you're transporting back and forth, like I have multiple vehicles. Each one of my vehicles has a kit that stays in that car. So I don't have to move it, think about pulling it out and putting it in the truck or whatever. It stays in that car. Now, first and foremost, does anybody know what this is? What is this? Tourniquet. Cat tourniquets, folks. This is probably the most important tool you should have in your first aid kit, period. A cat tourniquet. I prefer cat tourniquets. I use soft tees. I was given a ratchet tourniquet to test and try, which I'm like, that is absolutely amazing. But be careful where you buy your tourniquets from. Make sure, and I'll say this right here and right now, do not buy a tourniquet off of Amazon. Do not do it because they are, what's the word I want to use?
Chinese crap.
Thank you. Chinese crap knockoffs. Buy a certified cat tourniquet. We get all of our tourniquets from North American Rescue, period. I won't buy them from anybody else but them. And I stage mine. You'll notice that on all my bags, the tourniquet stays on the outside. So I don't have to open the bag if necessary. Because how long does it take before somebody dies if they have a massive bleed? Anybody know?
3 minutes. 3 minutes?
All the above. All the above. You have less than 6 minutes to get that tourniquet applied and the blood stopped. And I'm going to tell you something. If you have to use this, especially on a loved one, your wife, your husband, kids, I'm going to tell you now, this is going to be the worst pain they've ever experienced. Because once you get this applied, you have to crank it down so hard that it stops the bleeding, and the other part of their extremity basically goes numb. Because if I have a wound here or anywhere in here, I have to apply the tourniquet high and tight. That means crank this thing down. I'm going to lose feeling in my fingers, but the bleeding is going to stop. So, everybody heard of the March algorithm? March algorithm. Come on, y'all. What is it? What is the March algorithm? Massive bleeding, airways, respiratory, circulation, head trauma. Everything in your first aid kit should address the March algorithm. That is something that came up by TCCC, Tactical Combat Casualty Care. They put it together. The military, U.S. military, developed these. That is what your kit should cover. Now, should you have Band-Aids in there? I don't know. Should you? Probably. For you, absolutely. I don't. That's a whole nother thing. You know, if you need a Band-Aid, if you get rug burn or whatever, okay, I get it. But in a kit, you can have them.
They would say that's a boo-boo kit.
Yeah, but in my kit, it addresses the March algorithm, and I've got other stuff I put in here. I've got 2 more tourniquets. Tourniquets. For those of you that hopefully nobody ever has to encounter a gunshot wound, okay? What happens when somebody is shot by a gun?
They probably go down.
It makes, I heard something, I heard a number.
It makes 2 holes.
It could make 2 holes. One in the front,
And one in the back.
one in the back. So, I highly suggest put in your kit chest seals. We use hyphen chest seals. There's all kind of chest seals out there. Use them because you want to put one on the front of them, one on the back of them. Why? Because there's something that's called a gurgling wound, meaning you're seeing air bubbles. If you come across somebody who's been shot or been in a car accident and they have a puncture wound, you're going to see blood and air bubbles coming out. You got to get that covered up so that there's only one-way airway in, because now you have air coming in, air coming out. It's going to distend the frame of the body, because now that's taking oxygen away from the lungs. And some of you out here are medical professionals or in the process of becoming medical professionals. You always need the lungs to do their job, right? What happens if our lungs don't do their job?
You don't hang around very long.
Right, we don't hang around too long. So chest seals are important, just in case you come off against somebody with a puncture wound, or if you end up with some type of puncture wound. Hemostat gauze, basically something that will clot the bleeding, especially if you have a puncture wound or an extremity that has an excess of bleeding. You've applied a tourniquet to it. Now you need hemostatic gauze, either quick clot or some type of gauze bandage. An Israeli bandage, we've all heard of those. They have hemostatic agents in them that you can apply, wrap, and it will have the blood clotting process begin quicker. Okay, that's the goal, is to get the bleeding stopped at all cost. Triangular bandages. I even keep paracord in mind. You never know. Heaven forbid if you have to give somebody CPR and you don't know them. What are you going to do?
I carry
Now,
it in
please.
I have one of those, yes, in my purse.
CPR face shield. Now, family members, well, depending on what part of the family, may or may not. But yes,
Swap spit you use a guard.
true.
That way you put a dead dog behind him.
Burns. Anybody been burned lately? Yeah. Burn spray with lidocaine in it.
Yep, I got that.
It works. Sometimes if there is some type of puncture in a wound, you may have to clean it, irrigate it, saline solution. Irrigate it out, then you can actually see where the hole is or the cut or the whatever it is, and you begin to clean the wound and then apply the necessary bandages to it. I wish everything was as simple as putting a Band-Aid on it. That's why I don't carry Band-Aids. Because if it needs a Band-Aid, I'm going to just let it do what it does. What happens if it's dark outside at night and you come across something, accident?
Should have a headlamp in your kit.
Headlamp, glow stick, chem stick, something that you can use to see with. Flashlight. How many guys have flashlights on them right now? Raise your hand. There you go. That is a good thing to have at all times. One other thing. What if, so you come across an accident, you see this person bleeding. What's the first thing you're going to do? Mike?
Ask them if you can help them.
Bingo. Now, in Ohio, we are covered 100% by the Good Samaritan law, even if they end up dying from what you do.
New York too.
Right. You will not be held liable because you're attempting to aid something that they didn't get. Anybody taking a CPR class lately? What's changed? Everything. Exactly. So now, what do they teach? Correct. Compressions. That's it. Apparently, they have determined that from the chest compressions, it will automatically bring air back into the lungs when you release. And they just want you to sit there and just pound on their chest as long as you can until help arrives or whatever. They don't care about the 10 chest compressions and then the 3 breaths. And here's the one thing, if you're doing chest compressions only, if you're not breaking ribs, you're not doing it right. I've talked to several medics. My oldest brother's a retired lieutenant, fire department medic, all this stuff. He said 99% of the time when you do chest compressions correctly, you're going to break at least 1 rib on that victim. Ribs can heal. You can't come back from the dead. So,
Two broken, 2 cracking out.
shears. Everybody have shears in their kits?
Yep.
That's right. Use them. You may have to cut off whatever. Use them. It could save their lives. You want to do that. A couple other things I keep in mind. The triangular bandage, because you never know. If it's a broken arm they have, you can at least put a bandage, make a sling, and then get them to medical treatment as quick as possible. I also keep hydration salts in my kit. If you come across somebody who on a day like this has been out here all day long, and what's the signs of dehydration? Does anybody know? I heard lack of sweat. What else?
Dry mouth.
Exactly. What else?
Urine's turning darker.
Right. They don't. Right. When you press on them, yeah, it doesn't go pink and then back to white or whatever. Correct. Know the signs of when somebody's dehydrated.
Another trick too is inside.
Yeah, pinch the skin and it doesn't goes back slow.
Go back as
Yeah,
well.
exactly. One thing I'll say about when somebody's dehydrated, do not give them cold water. Room temperature water only. I don't care if it's water, whatever, liquid. Do not give it to them cold. You could send them into shock. And the body does not absorb cold liquids. I don't drink ice water, and I won't. I drink room temperature water only, all the time. What else should you have in your kit? Space blanket. Why would we need a space blanket? We're on Earth. Shock. Correct. Let me ask you this. In this heat, as hot as it is out here right now, could somebody go into shock? Why? Dehydration. What else? Heat stroke. What else? Heat exhaustion. What else? Trauma. The body temperature is dropping. It could be 110 outside and their body is like 70 degrees. You got to keep them wrapped up and keep them warm. And with a space blanket, the space blankets reflect 90% or more of that person's body temperature right back to them. So you want to keep a space blanket in your kit as well. What else you want to put in there? What happens if I'm not breathing and you've done chest compressions and I'm still not breathing? Check the airway. So now, what happens if you have to make an airway and you are not trained to do a tracheotomy? What do you use? I heard it back there. Nasopharyngeal tube. And I'll say this, get professional training because there's two sizes. There's a 28, I think, and a 20. 28 is for adults, a 20 is for kids. And it is simple to do. But here's the key. You can do it to somebody else, but you'll never be able to do it to yourself. Has anybody ever tried doing one to themselves? I did. I was in with a group of guys and the instructor literally told us, I will give you $100. He pulled $100 out of his pocket. He said, and put it on the table. He said, whoever can put a nasal pharyngeal tube into their own nose, you walk away with the $100. It's painful. So you have this tube that's like that, and it's the natural curve of the body, and it comes with lubricant. You put lubricant on it, and you slip it, literally slide it in the nose. It follows the air channel, and it makes an airway. But if you're doing it to yourself, the first thing you do is gag. And you can't get past it. So I'm almost ready to make that offer right now, but I'm not. Because some of y'all will be out here all night long trying to get that thing in your nose, but I won't. So if you can carry NPR tubes, carry them, because you never know, especially if a person's unconscious. And you've looked at their airway, you've opened their mouth, there's nothing there, but they're still not breathing. You can stick an NPR tube up their nose and start chest compressions. Again, get medical professional training, please. I'm just talking. I know what to do. I could probably save everybody's life if necessary, or anybody's life. But until you do it, or have done it, or have been trained, we don't know what to do. What happens in a moment of chaos? Confusion, panic. Right. So how do you get past that? Train. Train, 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 train. What else should you have in your kit? Sterile gloves. You know what? That's a pretty good idea. Because you never know what Pookie and them may have been doing, and they're bleeding, and you got to either clean them up or walk away. Mike was going to say blue is recommended because you can see the blood. You know, although the black ones are cool, and everybody in the city of Columbus fire department and medic, they wear black because they look cool. And the chief of the fire department said, get rid of every black glove in every firehouse in the state of Ohio. And they went back to blue. Because during gunshots, you do a general sweep of the body. And by them sweeping the body, the black gloves wouldn't show the blood on their gloves. But when you do a sweep with blue gloves on, you're going to see blood on your hands. Then you can begin to quickly assess the victim and where they're bleeding at. Tape. This happens to be nylon tape. My kits, I have nylon tape and I also have waterproof tape. I use either one. have some type of tape. So when you apply a pressure bandage, you can add some tape to it to secure it even better. What else would you put in your kit? Or do you have in your kit?
I put duct tape.
Duct tape works. Duct tape fixes everything. Come on, we know that. You can start your car with duct tape.
Did you cover magic markers so you can make annotations on the body?
Oh, TQ.
Absolutely. You want to keep a Sharpie or some type of magic marker because when you apply a tourniquet, after you apply it and secure the windlass on it, the first thing you want to do is write the time on there. You know, there's a thing right here that says time.
What is it, 10 on, 2 off?
No, you never take it off once it's put on. Never, never, ever, never remove a tourniquet once it's applied. Let the hospital take it off. That's why you put the time on it so they know how long it's been there, because depending on how long it's been on, they know what type of medications to give the patient.
Well, I'm also saying because of the lack of circulation.
No, that is a myth. That has not been proven that a tourniquet has been on too long that a patient loses a limb. That is not true.
Quite honestly, I'd rather lose my leg than
Lose my life.
time
Yeah,
on
I
that
hear you.
tourniquet and bleed out.
Correct. So write the time on it.
Write the time on
Or, yes, or write the time on their forehead. I don't care.
Wrapped in a blanket, no one knows they have the tourniquet on.
Yeah.
Correct. So, how many of you have seen the neon orange tourniquets? Use those too. Because in the middle of the night, when the EMS shows up and you've got a tourniquet on them and you haven't been able to talk to them before they put them in the wagon and off they go, they may never see this. Or they're wearing black pants or whatever, yeah. So if you can get the neon orange tourniquets, do it. How many of you seen the blue ones? The blue ones are training tourniquets, and there is no difference other than the color blue are designated for training tourniquets. They work just as well as any of the other ones. But that's what the blue represents, is training. What else should we do? What else should we have in our kit? What kind of meds? I'm not a pharmacist.
Tylenol, ibuprofen.
OTCs, correct. Nausea, diarrhea, all that stuff. Over-the-counter meds, ibuprofen. Now, some people are allergic to ibuprofen. Naproxen works as well. So you want to do that. Quick clot.
Benadryl.
Benadryl, correct.
Sometimes if you have allergic reaction and stuff, if you don't have anything else, Benadryl might help.
Correct. Benadryl might help. Gloves, nitrile gloves. I normally keep 2 pair in every kit. You know why? Exactly. If you're in a mode and you're trying to get it done and you put that thing and go and your hand goes right through it, you got at least have another pair you could try to get it on, and if not, don't worry about it. I'd rather save a life and worry about the aftermath later. That's just me. You may not want to touch them, and you may sit there and say, you know what, I'm going to watch you bleed out. You can live with that the rest of your life. I don't. I want to know that I've done everything that I could do to try to save this person's life.
On that quick blood clot, Walmart's carrying it too now in their sporting goods section.
There you go. Good to know. Ice pack. I carry a couple of them in all my kits. Crumple it up, instant cold, put it wherever they may need it, or you may need it. What else? Space blankets. We've got just about, so over-the-counter meds. You just said ibuprofen and stuff like that. And if you have a victim that you're trying to deal with, maybe they have a headache because their head hit the steering wheel or the side window or whatever, ask them if they're conscious, are you allergic to ibuprofen? Ask them that before you give it to them, because it could cause it to be worse. And then when EMS shows up, let them know. I just gave them ibuprofen. They took 2 and it was half an hour ago. Exactly. Now, this is another kit of mine that I keep in the house. I have 2 of these this particular kit has everything in it we talked about and will treat about 10 people. I keep one upstairs and I keep one in my basement, just in case. I also wanted this one because this is cool. This is the cool factor kit, okay? And this is the one I'm working on. This is a wound closure kit only. Any type of wound closure, everything from scalpels, sutures, staple guns, everything.
That's the only thing I don't got is staple gun.
Staple removers.
Got that.
So, you know, you put staples in somebody, guess what?
You can take them out.
He said they stay there. You got to take them out sooner or later. Yeah, they'll rust, exactly. But, you know, this is one of the things that I do.
Iron in your diet.
Yeah, you can,
take them out.
right,
Leaving 'em in.
exactly. You can get suture training kits online that will literally teach you how to do sutures and how to sew up wounds that need to be sutured, or you can just pinch it and hit it with a staple gun, and not a industrial staple gun, but a surgical staple gun, so it doesn't go in and through and into the bone. So with that, I appreciate you guys. Any other questions? Excellent. Thanks, folks. I appreciate y'all.
Thank you.
I love y'all. I'm hot, and I'm hungry, and I'm getting hangry.
Trying to see that kid that was actually